All right, so our right-wing reactionary Supreme Court is back at it again, this time further eroding our constitutionally outlined separation of church and state in this country. So here from Salon, we got a great breakdown from Julia Conley saying Sotomayor dissent rips Supreme Court for dismantling the wall of separation between church and state. So what are they talking about here? They say the U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor on Tuesday warned that the court's right-wing majority had further eroded the nation's bedrock laws separating church and government when it ruled that Maine must include religious schools in state-run tuition programs. They said, quote, "Today the court leads us to a place where separation of church and state becomes a constitutional violation," wrote Sotomayor in the minority's dissent of the 6-3 decision along ideological lines here. And they continue saying Sotomayor was joined by fellow liberal justices Elena Kagan and Stephen Breyer to oppose the majority opinion in Carson v. Macon, which centered on two families in Maine who wanted state taxpayers to pay for to send their children to attend private religious schools. And they give a little bit of context here, saying in Maine, where many rural communities do not have access to public high schools, which is in and of itself a condemnation of our lack of funding for public schools in this country in the first place. But this is also going to sort of tie back to that, because that's basically the intent of this, is to further erode our ability to properly invest in public schools in this country. But they say in Maine, where many rural communities do not have public high schools, towns must either contract with nearby public school districts so children can receive education there, or pay tuition at a private non-sectarian school in accordance with the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And they say the schools named in the case aim to instill a Christian worldview in its students and are openly discriminatory against homosexuals, individuals who are transgender, and non-Christians, according to a legal filing. And they say under Tuesday's Supreme Court ruling, said one legal expert, those institutions and others like them now have a right to taxpayer funding. And they continue down here saying in her dissent, Sotomayor wrote that the court's right-wing majority continues to dismantle the wall of separation between church and state that the framers fought to build. And she continued saying in just a few years, the court has upended constitutional doctrine, shifting from a rule that permits states to decline to fund religious organizations to one that requires states in many circumstances to subsidize religious indoctrination with taxpayer dollars. And they say the ruling follows a number of decisions by the court favoring the religious right in recent years, including one allowing religious exemptions for employers that don't want to include contraception in healthcare coverage, and one allowing Christian prayers before government meetings. I mean, again, this is pretty simple. This is brazenly unconstitutional, no matter how they want to spin this and twist this to pretend as if this is about promoting equality between between secular schools and between religious schools. It's just complete bullshit. I mean, this just cuts straight through all of the bullshit surrounding the narrative that the Supreme Court should be regarded as this hollowed independent institution that is just purely interpreting the Constitution and they're working on behalf of the American people. It's complete nonsense, okay? This is a right-wing partisan institution. Many of these Supreme Court justices were put in place by Republican presidents who did not win the popular vote, again, relying on undemocratic systems like the Electoral College or the Senate and things like that, relying on all of these undemocratic institutions in order to install these justices in the first place for explicitly political reasons. I mean, we know this for a fact. A lot of the justices, or in fact all three justices that Donald Trump appointed, came straight from, I think it was the Federalist Society, and they were put there for very explicit reasons. One of those was to overturn Roe v. Wade, which it seems like they're just about to do in the next coming weeks or months. They're also gutting the EPA, they're gutting the SEC, they are gutting, every single ability for the American people via our government representatives in order to hold the capitalist class accountable, or to hold the most powerful people and institutions in the country accountable for their actions. And so this is just one more piece in that broader puzzle of what this right-wing Supreme Court is responsible for right now. But seriously, I mean, let's not pretend as if this is some institution that deserves any ounce of respect from the American people. It is, a board of unelected lawyers who basically get together and unilaterally decide, even in many cases against the interests of the overwhelming majority of the American American people. They get together, they make these decisions on behalf of the capitalist class in this country, and that's the reality of what the Supreme Court is right now. And in this case, again, this isn't just about imposing their religious views on the rest of the country. This is also about continuing in as part of this broader narrative that conservatives are pushing right now about how public schools are unsafe for your children. They're gay teachers and trans teachers who are trying to propagandize them into becoming gay and trans themselves. This is all piecing back together to the same through line, which is conservatives want to privatize every single public industry that we have here in the United States. And of course, education is just one of those sectors that they are targeting right now. This is an ongoing project. It has been the case for years. If you want to go back to the Donald Trump administration, look at the policies that Betsy DeVos, a millionaire, was trying to put in place at the time. She was basically systemically trying to dismantle public education in this country. And so again, this isn't something unique. This isn't something new. This is just one more piece in the puzzle of this broader attempt by conservatives in this country to completely destroy public education and impose, as a substitute, basically, their far-right Christian nationalist perspective on what should be taught to children. So, it's obviously unconstitutional. We have separation of church and state in this country, taxpayer dollars going to fund private religious schools that are openly anti-gay, anti-trans, that are, bigoted in that way. This is brazenly unconstitutional, but yet we're still left with a Supreme Court that doesn't give a single ounce or shit about the Constitution. They don't interpret it as it stands. They don't have this originalist interpretation as many of them want to pretend that they do. They're simply interpreting this on behalf of the capitalist class, on behalf of the elites within society, and doing it in a way that is broadly unpopular, but also, again, wildly unconstitutional, as is the case with this specific instance.